The president is continuing these Corona rallies, large crowds, very few masks, no social distancing, certainly no coronavirus tests. The latest one was at Winston-Salem, North Carolina's airport. Airport rallies now are something Trump is doing so he can just fly in, get off the plane and do the rally, and then fly back out. And this stuff really matters from the standpoint of the virus. On the bonus show today, we're going to talk about a new study which suggests that 250,000 coronavirus cases, a significant portion of all August coronavirus cases, were spread by the Sturgis motorcycle rally in South Dakota. I believe it's South Dakota, South Dakota. So these events have a real world impact. Let's look at some of the moments from yesterday's very, very much unhinged rally. Donald Trump started the rally by actually bragging about how many people there were. Again, during a pandemic, no social distancing, very few masks. Trump bragging about it.
We said, let's keep it down. They didn't do too good a job, but that's good, right? That's good. Now these crowds, I tell you, it's beyond what we had in terms of enthusiasm, beyond what we had 4 years ago in 2016. And that was a record enthusiasm, and we are breaking that record by a lot. This is the most important election we've ever had.
And speaking of which, by the way, at this rally where there are barely any masks, people are packed together, you really shouldn't have more than 10 people in a crowd, and there are thousands. Donald Trump attacks Nancy Pelosi because she went to a salon without wearing a mask.
Nancy Pelosi with her hairdryer and the whole thing. Everybody has to wear a mask. You must keep all beauty parlors closed. Then she's in a beauty parlor with no mask. Oh. And then she said the biggest part. She could have said, okay. She would have said, you got me. But she said, I got set up by the beauty parlor owner, who happens to be a Trump person, by the way. I like the beauty parlor person. She said, I got set up by the owner of the beauty parlor. Now she set me up. I say, how are you going to do with Putin, Kim Jong-un, and President Xi of China? No, it's terrible. She's always preaching about the mask. You got to wear the mask at all times, indoor, outdoor. When you go to bed at night, put the mask on. I've spent the last 4 years keeping my promises.
Now, what Nancy Pelosi did was stupid. I've already said, when these are the rules in California, you're not supposed to have salons open. She has the money to have someone come to her house. But who is Trump to be criticizing her for not wearing a mask when he's holding a rally in the middle of a pandemic where people are crushed together? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. This is the president of the United States speaking, by the way. This is the embarrassment is not just what he is saying. It's that this is the president and this is how they speak. Then Trump went into his performative mispronunciations of Kamala Harris's name. And he starts, it's almost like some kind of Gregorian chanting that Donald Trump starts. Take a look at this.
By the way, you know who's further left than crazy Bernie? Kamala.
I'm not completely sure, but I'm erring on the side of this probably being xenophobic in some way. Do you guys agree, disagree? I'm not sure. Then Donald Trump went into the victim complex, and this is just so out of touch. One of the most powerful men in the world, the height of privilege, the epitome of wealth. Donald Trump again doing the victim complex, saying that he has been treated even worse than Abraham Lincoln by the press. This is really weird. Take a look.
And actually, if we weren't interrupted with constant investigations that went nowhere, and nobody has been through what I've been through as president of the United States, nobody. You know, they used to say Abraham Lincoln got the worst press. I said, there's no way he got worse than me. But Lincoln was very, very badly treated by the fake news. Maybe in his case it was real. I can tell you in my case it's fake. It's totally fake. But nobody's been, and it should never be allowed to happen again. Let's see what happens. We caught him cold. Let's see what happens. But if we didn't have to, that takes time and energy and all of the things, the time that we spent on this impeachment hoax.
This is kind of like Trump's, I did more for black people than anyone except maybe Lincoln. Now he's been treated worse than any president except maybe Abraham Lincoln, or maybe actually worse than Abraham Lincoln. Absolutely and completely bizarre. And then Donald Trump took this sort of victim complex and smoothly as smoothly as Donald Trump can transition when alternating between reading a teleprompter and ranting. He transitioned into suggesting that his supporters sign up to be poll watchers on Election Day. And he warned the crowd about the stealing and the robbing and the thieving that he expects to see at polling places. I guess Trump is warning the crowd about pickpocketing at polling places. Take a look.
Look at these crowds, and if they're going to cheat, crowds are meaningless. Really, if they're going to cheat, these big, beautiful crowds, you could have 15,000, you could have 50,000. These crowds are meaningless. Watch it. Be poll watchers when you go there. Watch all the thieving and stealing and robbing they do. Because this is important. We win North Carolina, we're going to win Florida. I just left Florida. We're going to win Florida.
I have to tell you, I didn't think that polling places were unsafe places. It's an interesting idea, but it's not much like we don't hear much about in-person voter fraud because it essentially doesn't exist. I've never even heard about theft, burglary, pickpocketing, and thieving at polling places, unless Donald Trump is, of course, getting back to this idea of a rigged election, which he probably is. And then hear Donald Trump waxing philosophical to the extent that he can, imagining 1,000 years into the future that his wall, which hasn't been built, will still be seen as a marvel of human innovation. Take a look.
Two things, if you come back in 1,000 years, 2,000 years, or 3,000 years, if you're lucky enough, assuming we have something with the world is a crazy place, isn't it? But if you come back in 1,000 years, there are two things with all the computers and all the everything changes every day. You invent a new cell. You invent a new laptop. Everything is obsolete, like about 2 weeks after you invent it, right? Two things that will never get obsolete. The wall and the wheel, right? A wheel?
The wheel Trump has nothing to do with. The wall isn't being built. And no, I don't think that 1,000 years from now, we will still think of a wall between the U.S. and Mexico, if it exists, as some kind of timeless marvel or the vanguard of human technology and innovation. You know, we humans are notoriously bad at predicting the future. Humans are notoriously bad at making economic predictions. But I feel pretty confident that if a wall is built between the U.S. and Mexico in 1,000 years, it will not be a notable technological innovation at the time. Then Trump just starts making things up about the wall, again going back to Mexico is going to pay for the wall. You might not get how, but Trump is insisting Mexico will pay for the wall.
And you know, Mexico is paying for the wall, just so you understand. They don't say that. They never say it. But we're going to charge a small fee at the border. You know, the toll booths. We have toll booths. It's the biggest border in the world in terms of people going across and in terms of industry. Believe it or not, the southern border. We're putting a small toll on, and maybe we're going to do something with remittance. That's where people come here, make money, and they send it back. So we'll do something, and we're going to get all the money that we spent on the wall will be coming back. So remember I used to say, who's going to pay for it? They'd say, Mexico. Right, that's right. That's right. Mexico's going to.
The fact that Trump says this is wild. The fact that a crowd cheers for it is even more outrageous. There is not going to be a toll. It's just not going to happen. Mexico is not paying for the wall, and there is no wall. There is no wall. Donald Trump promising. So Trump has under 8 weeks left to accomplish the promise of a wall across the entire border during his first term. 8 weeks. Something like 250 miles of wall have been replaced. That's what's happened. I don't think he's going to make it. Then Trump again brings up this very dystopian idea of patriotic education. This is really wacky stuff.
You see what's going on. We will restore patriotic education to our schools. Oh, You know what I'm talking about. Look at you. This is a very sophisticated group, Tom. You know what I'm talking about, patriotic education. Well, the first thing they do is they want to take your history away.
We really don't know what that is, and Donald Trump has been talking about restoring patriotic education for a while now in schools. And what we gather is that Trump wants to correct what he believes are lies about racism and slavery, I guess, that he claims are being told in schools. He wants to correct that. This is his term, not mine, with what he says would be patriotic education. It's out of this world cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's the reality. And then maybe getting down to the sort of wind down of, again, like a 70-minute speech, the crowd visibly bored, people on their phones, just going on way too long. Donald Trump is painting a picture pre-coronavirus of an America that had fixed its partisan division. Donald Trump acting as if his leadership and his successes prior to coronavirus were so out of this world that they had brought together left and right, when in reality, he was impeached and partisan divisions were worse than ever. Take a look at this.
And you know what? After we get in, we're going to have tremendous success. And it was building. We were at a point, we were so successful before the plague came in from China. We were so successful that we were starting to get together. People forget. We were starting, success brings people together. It was so good. Our jobs numbers were so good. And whether it was the black community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community, our jobs were so good. Our numbers were so good.
This was one of the least popular presidents ever historically. In the Gallup tracking poll, approval tracking poll, Trump never got to 50% approval even one day of his presidency. And in fact, his election spurred some of the largest protests in the United States in a long time, generating more protesters than we have seen in a very, very long time. And importantly, Trump lost the popular vote. 3 million more people voted for Hillary Clinton than the number that voted for Donald Trump. And Trump is framing himself as having bridged the political divide up until the coronavirus hit. Fantasy world, irresponsible to do the rally, outrageous that we have a president who speaks like this. The world is laughing at us. And yet, he may get 4 more years. He may get 4 more years, and we're going to know very soon. Continued coverage of yesterday's rally will be on our Instagram page, David Pakman Show on Instagram. Make sure you're following us there. I want to take a second to tell you about one of our sponsors, Sussman and Hahn. Sussman and Hahn has everything you need when it comes to face masks and other protective gear for COVID-19, and they're giving my audience 20% off. Sussman and Hahn is the company that I personally have been going to for face masks. I love and trust the products they sell. That's actually why I reached out to them about being a sponsor. I have tried tons of different masks this year, and I still have not found a mask that's more comfortable or easier to breathe in than the washable cotton masks that they sell. It's made of a silky, lightweight cotton that feels great on your skin. It has convenient adjustable straps. It features a disposable 5-layer particle filter made of activated carbon. They also have disposable cloth masks, which are really comfortable, as well as other gear like face shields, alcohol wipes, no-touch infrared thermometers, and all of their prices are very reasonable. I also love Sussman and Hahn because they've donated over 60,000 masks to healthcare institutions. They're a great company. You can get there by going to davidpakman.com/mask. The link is underneath this video, and you can save 20% off of everything in their store when you use the coupon code DAVID.